This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever you want to say, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. I'm glad to have you along for what's going to be another crazy evening of covering Oilers news, what I like to call Welcome to My Life once the NHL season begins. We saw yesterday an absolute slammer of a night because I had a fantasy hockey draft. Well, today, how about every possible roster piece of the Edmonton Oilers being figured out, whether it be Anton Forsberg being claimed by Carolina, the taxi squad being revealed, which we'll talk about in this video, or, of course, the actual roster being set in stone with 12-9-2 as the roster configuration. Ladies and gentlemen, before that, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do right now is consider over the next 9 minutes sticking around by hitting that subscribe button, alright? Take the next 9 minutes, don't do it right now, but think about it over the next 9 minutes to think if you want me to fill you in on Oilers news every day. You can go back, I've been doing this pretty steady now for about 3 months since the NHL season's been getting back into gear, and tomorrow the big show gets back underway. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have one last piece to figure out before we look at the full roster and the opening night lineup and all that dandy stuff. That being right here from David Pagnotta of the fourth period, the Oilers taxi squad. Oh my goodness, we have mulled this over a million times, and it appears now official that Bouchard will be back in the Oilers lineup to open the season tomorrow night. That's a wild ride for him, right? He had no clue about midnight last night, or this morning, however you want to say that too. He had no clue what was happening to him this morning at 10 o'clock. He goes unclaimed, and now he finds himself inserted back into that fourth line center role until Gaetan Haas is back ready to play for us. Now, so Tyler Benson, Ryan Mcleod, Joakim Nygard, Patrick Russell, Alan Quine, and Stuart Skinner will make up the taxi squad for our Edmonton Oilers to start this season. So why is Stuart Skinner there? We'll cover that in a video a little bit later on. That'll probably be the 4-minute special in which we talk about Anton Forsberg going to Carolina. I'll just have some kind of random thoughts on that. But yes, Carolina claimed Anton Forsberg today on waivers, so that's why he's not there. So yes, the Oilers going with an unproven third string goaltender, but here's the problem. At some point, we have to have Stuart Skinner prove himself. We've had him in the system for a long time now, right? I believe since 2018, so now going on 21-22 for Skinner, and at some point he has to taste the NHL action, and he will do that hopefully at some point this season. It would be nice to see him do that for us and get some action for sure. Now, Tyler Benson, well, you know what? At least he's found a way to stick with the main club for the time being. And taxi squad players are readily available. You know what? They're there. They can be recalled in a heartbeat, essentially, is how the NHL has written the rule. He's ready to go. So Ryan Mcleod, same thing, right? These two guys on the cusp of sticking around and being with the Oilers full time. And I believe because Bouchard cleared waivers, he can now be assigned to the taxi squad at any point he wants to be by the Oilers. So that allows us, right, if we want to get Ryan Mcleod in game 2, we can get Ryan Mcleod in game 2 over Bouchard. Joakim Nygard, well, welcome to the Edmonton Oilers having depth this year. Yeah, so for our good buddy, Joakim Nygard, who is never yet full potential with the Oilers, yes, it is straight up welcome to the Oilers having depth this year, as he is part of that depth for sure, but he finds himself on the taxi squad. And then you've got Patrick Russell, who of course, welcome to the Oilers having depth. Patrick Russell isn't even a 13th, 14th forward for us this year. That is massive. Alan Quine and Stuart Skinner are the other players. Of course, Alan Quine, we have figured he would factor into the taxi squad, so that's not a shock by any stretch of the imagination, nor is Patrick Russell realistically. And Stuart Skinner being there in case Anton Forsberg got claimed on waivers, not shocking either. So what is shocking is you don't see Theodore Lindstrom on this list. While Theodore Lindstrom, who is that SHL player from Sweden that we signed during the pandemic shutdown of the NHL there, we ended up signing him. Well, he's coming over to play in Bakersfield to start the year, and then we'll see where he develops as things go along. But that's his role in all of this. So for us, what else you don't see is the fact of an Evan Bouchard or a William Lagesson, right? Now, those are two names that were prime candidates to be on the taxi squad based on where they fit into the Edmonton Oilers roster on the depth chart officially, right? Evan Bouchard, the 8th defenseman behind Slater Cuckoo, Lagesson the 9th, and of course Lindstrom in the minors the 10th. So yeah, these guys should fit there. What the Oilers are doing for their roster to start the year, and we'll talk about it with the opening night lineup that Bob Stauffer is predicting, which is pretty much straight up going to be the roster without a doubt, is the fact that you've got 12 forwards, 9 defensemen, and 2 goalies to start this NHL season. So it's going to be seeing kind of what transpires here, I guess you could say, in Game 1, and what happens over the next course of, say, the next week until you get James Neal back in action and you get Gaetan Oss back on the ice and see what you've got in him after some health situation as well. So straight up, right? That's kind of the situation. But the taxi squad, at long last, that problem is answered. We have mulled this over a million times. How do you make it work? And I don't think any of us had the Oilers pegged to go with a 12-9-2 configuration. 12 forwards, 9D, and 2 goalies. But that all of a sudden became a potential situation here today on Twitter. And then it is appeared to have developed into this, right? Jujhar Khaira would have been replaced by Ryan Mcleod had he been claimed on waivers. Instead, he's not, so he cleared waivers for the purpose of the taxi squad. But because he did that, that also means he's readily available to be named to the opening night roster, which it appears he will be here right shortly when we get to that a little later on this evening. So as it currently stands, one last time for you, Benson, Mcleod, Nygaard, Russell, Quine, and Stuart Skinner is the Edmonton Oilers' third-string goaltender. Now, what I'll tell you, everybody's freaking out about this. Who is our third-string goalie in the playoffs? Stuart Skinner. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy, but it is true. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Realistically, there's not much more to go over here. We got to get to that lineup prediction by Bob Stauffer, so I'm going to let you go now. Definitely, if you've taken the past 7 minutes, I'll say, to consider hitting that subscribe button, I'd appreciate you at least. Even if you don't now, do it a little later when you come back to check out those line predictions that Bob Stauffer has for opening night tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyson Dolynny TV up on out of here.